Clock says 4:30, meeting will come to order. Roll call.
Commissioner Bailey,
Present.
Commissioner Bunting,
I am here.
Commissioner Gay,
Present.
Commissioner Sapsy,
Here.
Commissioner Owens.
Here. George, can I get you to pray for us?
Yes, bow your heads, please. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the day that you've given to us and the blessings in it. And we just ask for continued prayers of safety for our men and women of the service overseas and at home. Also, Father, prayers for our first responders. We ask, Father, you be with the farmers as it's getting almost harvest season, believe it or not. The wheat's about ready to come out. We just ask safeties for them. We ask, Father, you be with us through this deliberation, for it's in the name we pray, amen.
Okay. Join us for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any additions or deletions to the agenda? If not,
Move the agenda as presented.
support. Moved by George, supported by Tim to approve the agenda. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody have any conflicts of interest they want to declare? Brief public comment. Okay. No public comment. Consideration of the consent calendar.
The consent calendar is presented.
By George, supported by Tim to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. I guess the one thing we could mention that's in here is the free tire collection be at the fairgrounds on September the 19th. Next up, administrators report.
Okay, I'm gonna start off, the packet that I sent or they handed out here just before the start of the meeting. At the very top of that is, as promised, a report on the summary of, our review of the allegations that were made on June 2nd at the meeting here. On June 2nd, we had 8 individuals who spoke on the subject of toxic work environment at the sheriff's office. A number of those comments were referencing an event that occurred that presently is in litigation. Out of respect for the legal process, we're not going to address any of that here. However, there were suggestions that maybe there were ongoing concerns at the sheriff's office. So on June 17th and on June 24th, we set aside those days to interview all employees at the sheriff's office. We had a managerial team that consisted of myself, Sheriff Clark, Deputy Administrator Sheila Barnaby, and our County Attorney Gordon Love. We were also joined with representatives from the Command Officers Association of Michigan, the COAM, representing our command officers, and from the Capital City Labor Program, known by the acronym CCLP, that was representing the non-command personnel. And I very much appreciate both of them sitting in on all of the interviews with their various personnel. When we met with the employees, they were told they were being interviewed because they might have relevant information concerning the work environment that we needed to hear about firsthand directly from them. We did ask everyone to refrain from providing opinions, guesses, or speculation. That's not what we were after. We wanted only facts that they were able to witness firsthand. We walked into this with 3 questions, literally, for each employee. The first, asking if they'd seen or heard anything that concerned them about another employee's conduct. Second question, whether or not they were afraid to report concerns out of fear for retaliation. And third, if they were to file a report, how confident they were that the incident would be addressed. Nearly 31% of the employees said they witnessed something that did concern them. Breakdown, though, of that group, of that 31%, 75% were correction deputies, other 3.8% were road deputies. They did report some things that were concerning. I'll address that a little bit more in just a second. Regarding the employees, whether they were afraid to report an incident out of fear of retaliation, nearly or just over a third said they were concerned or did fear retaliation. Of that group, 62.5% were corrections. The balance were at the roadside. And finally, about their confidence on whether or not, if they were to report an incident, whether or not that incident would be addressed, just 21.4% indicated that they were not confident that it would be addressed. The balance of that group were confident, or in some cases very confident, that it would be reviewed. And the reasons that the employees who said they weren't confident, they were primarily tied back to other incidents. Not, in fact, many of the employees said they were not saying this out of reflection of the current administration. There were just a couple of them who did include that group. So overall, what we've learned is that much of what we were told didn't necessarily rise to the definition of harassment as it's outlined in our statutes, but there was some conduct that was concerning that does deserve further review. The sheriff has already started some of that. I know Sheila has been on top of that as well. And this will be an ongoing issue for a few more weeks. I'm sure that there will be a report forthcoming when the sheriff has concluded his review. We did at that during these meetings with every individual employee, provide them with a list of persons who will hear their complaints. If they don't feel confident or don't feel comfortable working through the sheriff's command, we did have other options, including myself. I handed my business card out to every one of these employees along with my personal cell number and assured them if they were to call me, I would not only take the call, but would follow up. So we wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. Our employees were also instructed to report any adverse treatment considered retaliatory as a result of our meetings. And that still stands. And there's no room for that at all in county government. We certainly won't tolerate it. And then finally, we do recognize, and part of why we had our unions present, there is a process for filing formal grievances as well. So all these options, we want to make sure our employees are aware of should they come across something that they felt they needed to report. Lastly, there is going to be, as a result of this, mandatory organization-wide training for all Gratiot County employees concerning workplace harassment. And that is actually being scheduled now. I expect we're going to have that locked down on the calendar here within the week. And this will be something that for any direct reports of mine, that will be mandatory. I'm going to be encouraging our elected department heads to make that mandatory for their personnel as well. And attendance will be recorded in personnel files as well so that we know who's attended. This is something that we should do routinely anyway, at least every other year. I know we've been doing it in the past. We did lose our educator from the last round, but we have a very suitable individual willing to come in, and it will be done at no charge because they're on retainer already, but somebody well-versed in the area of workplace harassment. That's the conclusion of this report, but there is sort of a companion document for you to look at tonight, and that's that first policy that was handed out to you, the workplace harassment policy. This is something for your review. We'll have it on the agenda in 2 weeks for consideration for formal adoption. This policy has been reviewed and is actually modeled after the policy MMRMA recommends. That's our risk control carrier. They were, I think, very thorough in what they proposed. So I'm very confident that we've got things covered there. The second policy that you have in front of you is the IT policy. This one's a little bit long, about 18 pages total, but it's a very comprehensive policy. Talks a little bit about AI, talks about equipment that we have here, treatment of equipment, what's proper use, and so on. Very thorough and intended that way. This has been already reviewed by our council and by MMRMA. MMRMA was very complimentary, but I think what they added to this really did help it as well. So it was a good review. Of course, Matt had a large hand in that, making sure that my terminology was right. Anyway, that was much appreciated as well. These policies have already been briefly discussed with department heads. We'll have our meeting tomorrow. And we'll let everyone know that this will be on for 2 weeks from now. If there are any other changes, we'll be able to make them between now and then. Just a couple of other items. Our internal control draft report is in. Todd and I are reviewing it now. I believe it was the next meeting that we had Bethany Verbal from the consultant in to talk to you as a board about it. As I tell all of our presenters, please keep it to 15 minutes and questions. I think she'll be able to do that without any problem. It's a pretty impressive document, pretty thick document, a lot of guidance in there. From there, though, we will also have a series of other internal control financial type policies that you'll have in the coming months to review and adopt. And as you'll see those as they come forward, they're very good policies to have. She's also had some recommendation for amendments to current policies that we have. So we'll be able to talk about those as well. Did want to pass along just 2 other items. First, we did have our blight meeting. Gosh, I would say 2 weeks ago now. Fairly well attended. Yeah, fairly well attended. I thought very good exchange of ideas. Looking forward to very positive things coming out of that. I think we maybe had some misunderstanding between some of our townships and what was actually going on with the enforcement. We do have some modifications I think that we can make to that to make the whole process much more efficient. Finally, I'm going to hand out a 1-page document to you right now. This is a document that should be considered a work product. I've quoted on the top of that the exemption under FOIA. This is just for your eyes right now. I don't want to talk about numbers. I don't want to do that until I've had a chance to talk with Eric and with Brett at the transit about the numbers. And this concerns a question that was brought last meeting about the cost of expansion of transit in the entire county. I do want to preface this by saying Brett has asked that you consider an amendment to the resolution that put together the village language so that they're not in a situation where we would be collecting at the same time the slipper group was collecting tax for this purpose. In other words, they would ask that the county, if it were approved, that the collection on the county millage be delayed 1 year. I don't have that unintended overlap. I don't think that's a hard thing to do, but this is another reason why we have attorneys to help us with the language to make sure that we get exactly all of what we want. What I've done with this is broken the county up into 5 different zones, and I did that because of the mileage. This is one of the questions that came up. The average trip in the current service area is somewhere around the 3-mile range, but if we're going to go over to Elba Township, that average trip will not be 3 miles. We know that. These projections are based on one standard. That standard is all things being equal. So that means the cost per mile for a bus would be the same as it is right now. The ratio of riders to the current population would be the same everywhere. One thing we know for sure is all things will not be equal. So this is just simply a quick back of the napkin, I think they say, a sketch of what it could be. I'll draw your attention to the figure at the very top right. That would be projected cost with all things being equal. Well, I can guarantee you with one of these zones that you're not going to have exactly the same ratio of riders. They won't be going to exactly the same places as current riders. So there's a lot of assumption in here. So the best we can do right now is just come up with a projection like this. Very confident, once I've had a chance to talk with Eric and Brett, that we would be able to fine tune this. I'm absolutely certain that the number I've come up with is high. Absolutely certain of it. But how high, I don't know, and I won't know until I have the expertise to tell me this is what you can expect to happen in this zone. This is what will happen in this zone. But I would maybe characterize that as probably an extreme case scenario on the high end. But what we have in the zone 1, what you have listed there, all of the vehicle hours, the miles, the costs, all of that is actually reported in the audit of transit. So those numbers we know are good. And so they're a good number, good base number to start with. But there's work to be done yet. And I'm asking, don't circulate this. I'll happily collect them now, modify it. And when we come back next meeting to talk about the amended language, we'll have this fine-tuned a little bit better and can probably give you a little more assurance in the numbers that thing. Finished with my report. If there are any questions on any of the it's covered.
When you want back home?
No, just the color one.
Oh, that one? Okay.
Oh, well, this is a good map of the townships. I wanted to keep.
You know what, yeah. Make
It
arrangements.
shows where,
Angie can get you a map township.
who can?
Angie.
Hey, Steve, what report do you have?
On the seventeenth, the night after our last meeting, Parks and Recreation, we met out at, Hubshire. And, in typical fashion, it was raining and cold and miserable. It'd been nice at the 911 center where the meetings are typically held, but anyhow, I guess you could say that the good part is you expedite meetings when it's miserable and raining and cold. So, the biggest topic of concern or talked about there was the, splash pad, that had been on our agenda and has been removed from the agenda. It was on there. They had gotten some new, plans and bids. So that's what we discussed is, some of them that had came in and things that we were able to review. And then might as well continue with that. I ended up going to another meeting, actually in the city of Alma, where we talked about, we actually met at the park, that it would be installed at. We could see the location and everything, where it would potentially go, to get a little bit of a lay of the land. And that day it was extremely hot, extremely muggy, and they had a touch a truck event or something going on. So it was fairly busy at the time. But anyhow, we did get a little pavilion area that we got to sit in to conduct our meeting, which was good. On the 22nd, I went to Fulton Township. They are working with Washington Township. In fact, I think they're meeting. They were having a special meeting of the two boards, maybe tonight even. They were going to meet and talk about what the study had found for Pompeii, and moving forward, what they're going to do with that. That situation. The study that they had done proposed raise to make that thing self-sufficient, because right now what they're charging and what it costs to operate it are not on the same scale. So there's a proposal to look at that. They are also, I went to a meeting at the Drain Commissioner's office with the Fulton Township Supervisor to talk about why the drain that runs right by the actual drain field for Pompeii. There's a concern with one of the culverts that goes underneath the railroad tracks. The culvert is actually considerably higher than the bottom of the ditch, so water sits in there. It becomes very stagnant. George and I actually, we talked about it at the health department meeting. They actually went out there and tested it. At that time, it was still within the safe water, but there's a concern as it sits there stagnant for long periods of time, whether that could become a public health hazard. And believe it or not, when you have a culvert that goes underneath a railroad track, it creates a huge kind of pain to get a simple thing as a culvert replaced or anything done with it at all. And it's a bottleneck when you have heavy rains like we had this spring and large quantities of trees and debris and corn fodder comes down the drain. It plugs that thing up to the point where no matter how deep the water is on the north side of the tracks, it doesn't just trickles through onto the other side, which creates further problems. So anyhow, that has been discussed at great length. They're meeting to find out how they're going to proceed. And there's also some other things. Fulton Township had covered some expense of a pump rebuild during COVID and how Washington Township is going to, they weren't even aware that this had happened during COVID and how they're going to work that out because there's one that needs to be worked on the other side because if you, about a third of the population in Pompeii are in Washington Township, which is east of State Road. 2/3 are west of State Road. And so there's one pumping station on the east side and two pumping stations on the west side. And so they're trying to figure out ways to get through that. On the 24th, George and I were at the health department. Financially, things look good but that's George's bailiwick. I'll let him talk about it. We were presented with what we're going to hear about tonight, the annual report. It's really impressive what the health department does in Gratiot, Clinton and Montcalm County. With all the fingers and things that Liz's people are involved in is pretty amazing. The things that she does is pretty amazing when you look at it. I'm on the personnel committee and you look at what all the different staff do there. It's pretty remarkable, really. All the things that they're touching and doing. So my hats off to them. They do a great job and do good work. The 25th, I was here for the Blight meeting. Dave and I came to the Blight meeting. Many townships were here that participate in the Blight program were here. I really think that people were glad. The ones who were here, I haven't heard anything negative about the experience of being here. And, you know, I think to me, the overwhelming feeling was people are wanting it to get back going and to see it do what it's designed to do, clean things up. There's examples all over the state of Michigan of how these things work well. You brought some of them up. We just need to get that going in Gratiot County so that we can get these problem areas cleaned up within our own county. And I think we're on the right track to get that done. And then later that night, I missed rural urban because I had a Blight meeting going on. And then I had to go to a township meeting right after I left the Blight meeting. So I went to Washington Township. Got there a little bit late because of the Blight meeting, but and once again, there was a representative there from Fulton Township. So they've been attending each other's meetings to talk about the Fulton septic. They are also kind of awaiting, like most of my townships are, they were looking forward to see if the Parks and Rec are going to have another ability to apply for some grant money, because they are trying to start a park at the Washington Township Hall property. They're, I guess technically the park on the very west side of Ashley is technically in Washington Township, or portion of it is, but they would like to have their own park at the Township Hall. They bought several pieces of playground equipment and it's sitting there. It's just going to be installed. They've got their parking lot expanded. They've done a lot of work out there. So I know it's not the most convenient place to get to in the world, but if you ever want to drive out there to see it, it's pretty impressive what they've done to this little old 1800s building with the addition and now all the things they're doing. So that's my report.
Dan?
Okay, I have a couple of things I want to bring up. One of them is the Blight ordinance that you talked about. Because I know a lot of people around the county. I've been visiting and I had a friend of mine tell me that her garbage can had kind of gotten beat up because of the weather and stuff. So she called them and they replaced it. And I said, was that your reusable one or is that your regular one? She goes, I just have one. And she said, when they exchanged it, they gave her a smaller one. Well, I was surprised because I said, don't you have to separate your garbage and all this stuff? She goes, no, we just put it all together in one. So what brought this to my attention was, I was thinking, Sheila, I thought they were supposed to be separating that because of the landfill.
Each municipality has different haulers, different contracts. The recycling program does not tell municipalities how they have to run their recycling program. We cannot do that, we will not. This is to provide additional access for people to have the option to.
So if they want to do it, okay. She used to do it, but she used to have to go someplace, and what you said, that you were gonna put these containers up all around so she could go there and dump it. And so, but anyway, and she lives alone, so it's easy for her to, doesn't have a lot of stuff, but she said the whole community there where she lives does not have the recyclable. So, and I was just surprised because I thought all of the companies that we have out there, I thought they all did both.
It's not just from the company, but in some instances such as Ithaca, they was 100% from investment parts of their service.
Okay. Okay, so anyway, things are changing. It'd be kind of nice to have an update, maybe. Maybe, when I don't know how often you guys meet, just so we kind of see, because I was kind of challenging her, saying that, I thought that this had to be separated, so they went to two different places. Also, if I remember right, I thought it said that these landfills are getting full. And so they're trying, and like paper goods and plastic and all that kind of stuff, they didn't want it in with they didn't want it mixed, is what I was told. So that's why, so I'm kind of behind on this, that it has changed again, that you can just do whatever you want.
That has not changed. Every municipality has the right to make a contract with a private company. We don't get.
Is this by county or by, like, with yours, you dealing with how many counties? 6 counties? So is that counties or is that townships or, well, like townships, really? So,
I think you're asking about the heartland. So right
yeah,
now,
yeah,
it's 8 counties, but it's just writing a plan to allow for extra access. And the plan will even be completed for a year.
okay. Okay, so yeah, because it's a little confusing, because when I first started with this was one way, so they've changed several times. Anyway, and I'm real surprised because what I pay is monthly, but they pay for putting in less is actually less than I'm paying $35 a month. They're paying $35 every 3 months. And I thought, wow, they're not even separating it. So I thought that was kind of interesting. That's the reason I'm kind of interested in it. So that's one question I had. But the other thing is, I also went to a meeting. I had an email come to me that, would I come to a planning commission? And so I went to that. That was real interesting. Mostly it's about the solar panels. And one of the first things back years ago, before this all came about, the wind turbines and the solar panels, I remember one of the first questions I asked was, what about a tornado or a bad storm that comes along? What if does it rip that wind turbine out? And they go, oh no, it'll never rip it out. Well, if you guys are watching the news just recently, in fact, you can bring it up on your phone. I put, what states had a tornado that's taken out wind turbines? One state alone, one area took out 20 wind turbines, just popped them out like they were flowers. But also it's bending them over, it's destroying them. So I'm wondering now that we have bad weather too once in a while. We've been very lucky for a long time. But what happens to our solar panels if they get hit by hailstones or a tornado? Do they go in there and replace all of that stuff? So, I mean, that's one of the questions I asked. I said it wouldn't happen, but it's happening. So anyway, that's just a couple of things. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because it was brought up into a meeting that I went to. And I said, well, I was told this, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not part of it. And I'm just a commissioner. I put them in and I don't charge for them or any of that kind of stuff. But anyway, going to the other meeting I went to this month is Michigan Works. And Michigan Works, we're at the 10-year contract. That means we have 5 counties that are together for Michigan Works. And that contract is due again. I did bring all the information and I've given it to our administrator to go through it and have everything checked before we bring it to the commissioners. They will be coming, we've already voted on it as a group at the Michigan Works meeting, but then we will come here if there's any questions or anything like that. I can still take it back to Michigan Works to look at it again. But by the end of the year, they will, the administrator there will come and ask any other questions, or if there is any questions, and we will vote on it. And then we talked about a 10-year, but another 10 years, but we said that really we're gonna try, we're kind of changing things a little bit with Michigan Works, and if there needs to be a change it during that 10 years, and there hasn't been that many changes. I shouldn't say there hasn't, there has been several, but anyway, this is having 5 counties makes it, well, you know, anytime you have more, several counties put together, you have 7 or 8 or whatever there is in counties, different views on different things. So anyway, I would turn it over to our administrator. He will look at it and then bring it to the commissioners. And if you have any questions, we can still take it back. But anyway, by the end of the year, which is coming up, we will have to vote on it. And then we'll be all set for another few years, for several years. Do you guys have any questions on any of these things that I brought up?
Nope.
I will say this, there seems to be a lot of extra meetings going on, and I've been asked to come to several of them. Sometimes I can't go because I have other things going on, but I'm going to try to go to them, and they're not in my district, they're in other districts. So I don't know if you're getting the invitation to or not. But it's very interesting. I think we can constantly learn something of things that are going on around us. Oh, yeah, I'm done.
George?
Okay, on the 18th, we had a discussion about the terminal. It's here right here in the chambers, about what it should look like and how it should look and all the different aspects of it. And we had our engineering firm here, also our designer was here. And we told him, ask a lot of questions, and he'd ask a lot of questions. And then we came back again on the 26th. And from that discussion, with more detailed discussion that they have, and I have not seen it yet, but there's supposed to be a final drawing done here pretty quick. And so that'll be sent out for quote. And for the engineer, with all the engineering specs on it. And currently, they plan, or the current specs, the way they're spec now, what the engineer, the costing the engineer did is going to be right around 800,000, which is considerably less than what they added. So we're looking at other things that we may do to the building, such as in-floor heat, that type of thing, that would add a lot of longevity to the building, make it even more substantial. So we're looking at those types of things. So more news to come, I guess, on that front. Then on the, let's see, 22nd in the morning, we had a brownfield meeting. And we discussed different items there. Mainly it was to appoint a vice chairman of the brownfield. The one that was there had to resign to work constrictions, so we placed another one in that place. And then in the evening, Breckenridge village meeting. And I reported at that meeting that the old Beacon and Bridge, Cooper's Corners, which is on the corner of 46 and McClellan, is gone. Took 3.5 years of cajoling, phone calls. And, I used to have black hair 3.5 years ago. Okay, well, nobody believe that. There was a lot of gray hair.
Say that again, George.
Pardon?
You said 46 and what?
46 and McClellan. It's all gone. So it was a big project done, gone out of the way. There's a mural that's been painted now. If you go into Breckenridge on 46, you go by the village hall, the building right to the east of that, at a big white wall. Now there's a big mural on there with flowers and butterflies, and it looks pretty nice. And then, let's see.
Done by a local artist too.
Yes, yeah. And then, like I say, Wednesday, we had our Board of Health meeting. And then we set the schedule for our finance, budget meeting for the next meeting. which is the end of this month. So that'll be a full board meeting for discuss that. Then, the 20th, like I say, on the 25th, we came back and discussed all those things. And, let's see, I think that does it.
On June 24th, I went to the township meetings in Pine River Township. There were two men there to talk about the transition from .NET to cloud. It was interesting. I didn't really understand a lot of it, but this is one of the changes we have to make to stay current. And the guy said it involves a major paradigm switch, using new muscles in the brain. I don't have to do it, but I admire and maybe feel sorry for the tech people that, have trouble with this. But things change. They really do. I think we're all kind of a advanced age, and just think about all the things that change during our lifetime. Just amazing, really. So that's all I got. It's a second Wednesday of the month, so I got Arcata Township, and then Thursday I have mental health.
Last week, I just goofed off. My only grandchild was here visiting from Nebraska. But the week before, I went to Greater Gratiot, Brownfield, Michigan Townships Association, Rural Urban Day. And I'm happy to report that my golf team didn't finish last in the sheriff's golf outing this year.
We know whose team did.
Okey doke. Now we're on to new business. Some lady from Montcalm County, I think, coming to address us. Liz?
Hi, good evening. If you don't know who I am, I'm Liz Braddock, the Health Officer for Gratiot County, and I work for Gratiot County, Montcalm County, and Clinton County. So
Doesn't live in Montcalm.
I live in Clinton County.
That's close.
Yeah.
127. So in your packet, you have the 2025 annual report. I just wanted to highlight that where we begin with the introduction from myself, the health officer. Then we also have an extremely talented medical director who is on top of anything that's happening. And unfortunately, over the last year, we've had a lot of concerns with One Health. These are the issues that impact human health and animal health. In the last couple of months, the commissioners have heard about New World screwworm. We've had a lot with avian flu. We hear a lot about ticks right now because they carry Lyme diseases. So these are the kind of emerging diseases that in a rural community, we have to be ready to respond. And last year, we took a lot out of us having to respond to some new, different types of diseases that we typically don't see in the Midwest. So we was on top of those. Wanted to mention some highlights. This was the second year where we were able to do Project Connect, where we received a grant from the Gratiot Foundation to purchase backpacks to make sure that the kids that go back to school have backpacks filled with socks and toothbrushes and resources for the parents. We give out about 400 of those. There is a lot of need in Gratiot County, and us as the health department work with other community members to make sure that happens. We were also fortunate that we received a Delta Dental grant last year. So it allowed us to purchase a van. We have a pearly white van that goes around the county and offers kindergarten oral health, a program where those who are entering pre-K and kindergarten can get an assessment. We know that having good teeth is very important. And again, there's a lack of dental providers in rural states. So we're happy to offer that. Our dental hygienists also are able to offer fluoride varnish, and we have just started a sealant program. So having the van that was granted to us is pretty good. When we look at our environmental health programs, we have about 25 programs. We make sure that the water is clean, that we drink, that the wells are being safely drilled. We have body art facilities. These are the locations that do tattoos, body piercings. We inspect those. Seasonally, we inspect the campgrounds. There are 6 campgrounds in Gratiot County that we inspect. We have 4 public swimming pools that we inspect during the season. We did 26 nuisance complaints. And then we also offer food training classes so that those folks who work and manage the restaurants are trained and have gone through a ServSafe certification. 32 people in Gratiot County were offered and passed that class. And then also a big thing right now you see is when folks are out at the festivals and in the towns, you see a lot of temporary food, the food trucks and the temporary food. So we inspect those, which we inspected 48 of those in 2025. If you look at the news right now, we're hearing a lot about cyclosporiosis, which is the disease, the illness that is making a lot of people sick in Michigan. We do not know the source, but having staff that are trained to make sure that the food that is being served in our county is safe is what the environmental health inspectors do. We conducted over 250 inspections in the restaurants in Gratiot County, and then over 100 each of well inspections and septic inspections. If you look at our communicable disease, we receive in reportable diseases, we provide treatment, we reduce the spread of infection, and then we also offer immunizations to those in the community that does that. And we do this because our staff like the work they do, they enjoy and they like serving the residents of Gratiot County. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here and that we do public health for you in Gratiot County. If you have any questions, I can answer most of them, I think.
You did let Norm Keon retire?
Our epidemiologist retired. He had worked 42 years in public health. And yeah, he retired in September, yes. Mm-hmm.
Liz,
Yes,
I just want you to aware, your opioid
yes.
thing is August 18th, right?
Yes,
It's 1:30 to 3:30. And I'll be there. We happen to have a board meeting that day, but that doesn't start till 4:30.
okay, that would be great if you can attend. That'd be perfect. We appreciate your, thank you. So yes, so the opioid task force is starting its 2nd year, and we are reconvening to review the process again under the direction of the county administrator this year.
Thank you, Liz.
Good job.
Next up, firewall replacement, capital improvement project. Matt?
Good evening.
Yeah.
Tonight I just had a quick brief thing to discuss. It's a capital improvement project that you all had budgeted for this current fiscal year. It's to replace 4 firewalls at 4 of our locations, courthouse building, and then 3 of our branch offices. And what the firewall does is it basically has nothing to do with fire. It just protects our network
Could have
from
something to do.
internet. Yeah. So
Your hair might be on fire.
yeah, mine might be, if things don't go right. But per the purchasing policy, we've solicited 3 quotes, one from VC3, one from CDW, and one from another company called Insight. As has been tradition lately, VC3's quote for the actual hardware tends to come in high because we get state of Michigan pricing from these other vendors. So what I'm asking the board to do is to go with CDW as the hardware vendor, and then go with VC3 as the installation vendor, basically, because they're our managed service provider. They're most familiar with our network and the way that we do things here. So there's also a secondary request to basically move money from one capital improvement project or liability and an improvements project into this one to help fund this one, because some of this hardware came in way more expensive than we originally anticipated. And a lot of these increased hardware component pricing has to do with this AI build out that's happening everywhere. All of these AI companies are buying up a lot of memory right now, and it's just increasing the component prices for basically any piece of hardware right now. Yeah, it was kind enough to write up a resolution as well too.
I know it said the average is 3 to 7 years. Do you, I mean, your professional opinion, with the way AI is changing things so rapidly, you know, some of these were at the end of their life, you know what I mean? Are we gonna have to probably be looking at moving this,
Shortening
that length of time until we're redoing these firewalls?
it's possible with some of these newer products like this one, it's actually, you're able to update it as it goes. So that
It's not a one and done, you can actually keep.
yeah, they're improving the product as it goes along. So I think that kind of helps us keep that same window. But yeah, we kind of.
That was just reading through all this, I was like, you know, the way AI is changing things.
It seemed like a long time.
Yeah, okay.
Well, if it does happen and you want to change your, see what's going on, come back and talk to us, that's all. So if you need more, you need more, that's all.
I so move that we accept resolution or enact resolution 26437 to replace the 4 courthouse fire. Oh, that's the fire alarm.
Yeah, it's actually, we noticed that typo as well. It's actually the courthouse fire.
Firewall system. Yeah, it's like, huh? We did the fire alarm system.
We got
Firewall system.
firewalls, we got fire.
That's the right number, right? 437?
We got more fires. You can.
Yeah, the rest of it's correct. It was just the main heading, I think.
Everything I'm reading is right, but the fire alarm, the firewall system.
Moved by Steve, supported by George to approve resolution 26-437 for VC3 to do the installation. CDW is the hardware. And further resolved, the finance director is authorized to and directed to make necessary budget adjustments. All those in favor, we should have a roll call.
It's the budget.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Gay,
Yes.
Commissioner Sapsy.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passed. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, thank you.
Have any unfinished business, Tim? No. Okay. Discussion and report of finance and budget matters.
Simple and quick. You have a couple of reports in front of you or in your packet. One is the check register. So these are checks that per policy we're authorized to make on an interim basis between meetings. The total for this, from the last meeting to this meeting, $541,170. The change. You have the list there in front of you. The other report is invoices. We're awaiting your approval tonight. That grand total from the last meeting to now. $298,290.38 are the claims that need your approval tonight.
Make a motion that we would accept the check register and place it on file.
Or
With George, supported by Steve, to pay the bills.
Do that next.
Okay,
You just do the check register.
okay, just do the check right.
They're separate, so.
Okay, well, I just wanted to move this along. All those in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed, nay.
motion that we would, accept the invoices as presented and pay the bills.
Moved by George, supported by Steve, to accept the invoices and pay the bills. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thanks again for. Well, I thank you 10 times, but this makes so much more sense.
Yeah. Pleasurable to read now.
Like, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, we spend a lot of money, but at least you know what the hell you're spending the money on.
With our current
It's
budget,
really helpful.
with our current budget, it's about $70,000 a workday.
Very nice. Phil. How you spending?
Any additional public comment?
Davidson.
Jan brought up about the solar panels, and I'm just thinking, as we need to be stewards of our land, is there a plan or is there a process to monitor all of these solar farms? When you drive by, there's no trespassing. If what I have read on some of the ordinances that you as commissioners can request to do spot visits on these panels, because they're toxic. And if nobody's watching them, nobody's gonna know that it's leaching to our land. So as a nurse, you know that I'm concerned about safety and as well as a steward of our land. So I don't know if you have a plan to do that, but I'm gonna make a recommendation that somebody's watching that. If you had a window in your home broken, you'd be watching that too. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Stacy Carey Jenkins. I'm a farmer in Sumner Township. My family also farms, Carey Pioneer Farms in Sumner Township. I just want to go on record, being that your meetings are recorded and people that can't attend your meeting because they're so early in the day, afternoon, I should say, that this has been regarding the solar panels. There has been a company going around since before Thanksgiving last year and contacting different farmers in Seville and Sumner Township and throwing ridiculous money out to acquire their land for these solar. I've been attending the planning commission meetings and they say, well, we haven't heard from this company. I've had nice conversations with Greater Gratiot Development. We haven't heard from this company. This company seems a little shady. We did discover Greater Gratiot Development and some of us others did some research and found that their home office is in Miami. They're a German-based company. They only have 8 projects in the works in the United States, like in the pipeline. Only one is actually working, and that's in Colorado. I feel like almost like y'all should put out a public service announcement so they can understand, landowners can understand and make sure they contact, you know, a good lawyer to look over these contracts. Because it's just ridiculous and some people are just seeing dollar signs and that's what's happening. The other thing is, I would like y'all to put maybe some pressure on the planning board because they just seem to keep tabling some things and not really. Some of what Gratiot County's zoning is nowhere near what the state, the 233 is saying, you know, like 300 feet for a setback and we have 50. I mean, that's just not enough. So I would, again, just asking you to just do something to maybe let the rest of the community know what is happening. And, you know, your logo here, the base of your logo, the foundation of your logo is agriculture. And food is important and safe food. Reliable, safe local food is important, and it really is of national security. So we really need to do our part in Gratiot County to save and protect and preserve our farmland. Thank you.
Anybody else? Guy in a black shirt sleeping next to the monitor there. Do you have any comment?
Okay,
Well, go ahead.
do we adjourn already?
We ran out of.
Ran
I ran out of agenda, so
I motion to adjourn.
I'll support that.
Hi, Tim, supported by George. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.